Are business coaches a scam? And/or courses. This is something I get asked a ton, and it's something that typically has a negative overview, but it doesn't need to be. Now let me explain to you why. But think about when you got an ad of someone that's like, I'll add $50,000 to your agency, or work with me, guaranteed if you don't add 6 figures. And there's so many different things. We're all just so skeptical because how could some of these people promote such things? How can, these people help me really achieve that goal? What if I just give them all my money and it ends up being a waste? Now, I'll preface it to you as someone who's spent over $25,000 in the last month of just coaching, is that there's a lot of different takeaways and a lot of different researches and points that you have to take into consideration. It's not just simply, let me see if I can find a coach to fix my problem, and that's what it is. So breaking it down into a couple different factors, let's talk about number one. Do I think that business coaches are a scam? And the answer is no. Now let me explain to you why. The reason being is that in today's day and age, you, of course, with the blow up of how courses have been, it's been rubbed a little bit of a bad way because people think about, just ask ChatGPT everything, throw it into a thing and charge $1,000 a month for it, and then you're sitting there like, what a waste of money. Alex Hormozi, I believe, is the one who said this quote. He said, there's really no bad course if you can be the best student. And it's very interesting because there's always so many different amounts of information and data that you could get, and it's all about who you know and go after to achieve that. So what I mean by that specifically is if I talk about, let's say, a creator that I've been following and that I watch his advice for, and that he has this mentorship, and then I look at reviews, I ask other people, how it is, and I make informed decisions on exactly who and when I want to go to it. The biggest mistake you can make is think that, all right, I need a business coach, and trying to research what coach to find. Because I tried to do that at one point, and then my friend, in the way it was expressed to me, is that that's just not the way to do it. And the reason why that is because when you need help on a certain scenario or some situation, you automatically know those people that you're going to go to receive that, right? And if you don't, it will come with over time. And sometimes it might just be by actually looking into it and then seeing that, oh, there's this scenario. So I'll give you a perfect one. Closers.io was a program that I joined after I was introduced to them in February of 2025. I met them in a conference in Las Vegas, and I had no need for them at the time. Throughout June, August, and November, I've hired 3 different sales reps and really couldn't make them work. So I don't know if it was my training or my personal skill set. So I started to looking into ways to hire another type of SDR level business, or position, sorry. I took a sales call with their guy, and he walked me through all the problems I was having and the information, how they could help him in the whole 9 yards. I told him, I was like, oh, okay, well, I've done these coaching things before. I'm not entirely sure if this is the right fit for me right now, but definitely it is all making sense. And by having a nice conversation with him, I knew I was being sold, but it didn't feel that way. Does that make sense? Throughout some certain coaches I talk to, there's definitely going to be some of those people where it's like, well, by you not having enough money to invest in this program, is that a byproduct of you not doing anything to fix the problem? Yeah, you'll have some of those, but genuinely the people who just look to help, at least for me, people who just look to help and who I can trust and seem informationable by expressing themselves through how they do on their content and pieces like that, is ultimately what helps me drive that decision on exactly what I need. And at that portion, at the end of the call, is like, no, definitely I think instead of trying to continue to outsource this and it failing, what if I just learned the best sales skill set myself, and I ended up buying on the spot? So what I'm trying to showcase to you is, as I got into that program, I watched 1 hour and a half video, and I thought it was worth it. Out of like 200 some plus videos, I thought that 1 hour and a half video was worth the money that I spent. So the point that I'm trying to make is, if we go back to a quote that I'm sure you've heard me say before if you watch my content, I always talk about that when we're in a scenario where we don't know what we need to do to fix a problem, the real answer is that we always know what we need to do. We just have to have someone to tell us to do it, because it'll be like kind of obvious, but like we won't initially think about that as that being the solution. So when it comes to investing in these platforms and programs, first is to understand, what is the problem? Because it should be a very definitive set of the problem. They should have a very definitive answer to how they would help you solve that problem. That would be number one. Number two is to understand their track record experience. Now, I'm not saying like case studies and everything is a major yay, but even I've been a part of some programs where some people are like, this guy's a scam, this thing sucks, and I went through it myself, and I'm just like, no, this was really helpful. So what it comes down to is when you bring these on, the reason why it makes sense is because if I'm faced with an issue at hand where I'm stuck, I'll give you an example. When we hit 30K a month for the first time, I lost 1/3 of my revenue in a month because I couldn't scale, couldn't bring on new business. I was a little all over the place with fulfillment, with how to acquire new clients, with how we presented our offer. I was doing so many favors, it would turn into a real nightmare. And that's where I found one of our first coaches that we worked with. And funny enough, it was through a Facebook ad, right? So Facebook ad, didn't even know who he was, hopped on one call with him. I said, this sounds good, let me just internalize it, think it over, called him one day, like first thing getting into the office, I was like, can we onboard right now? I'm ready to go. And then the rest was history. So the point being is that when I get brought onto board with this, I need to learn and understand how he can solve that very specific problem. And knowing that he can, I'm more than happy to give all my money for it. And the reason why that is because would you rather spend 4 or 5 hours, not 4 or 5 hours, like 4 or 5 days trying to figure out and solve a problem, when easily I could pay somebody for leverage that will help me make that money back faster and quicker by helping them give me the answer to my questions, right? And the thing is with a lot of these programs and pieces in place that it's very much answers that you can't Google. So if you've never been to a marketing conference or things like that, I highly suggest you go to these. I'm trying to familiarize myself with a couple new ones, but I'll just keep referring back to ClickFunnels for event. I was asking some of those entrepreneurs in there who make 9 figures, and I was asking them questions that Google can't really give you the answer to. So when you have a coach and you invest into these programs, you have to first of all make sure that you're going from the right individual. That's the most important thing from everything. And the second thing is to actually utilize those resources, because I'll have time and time again, I'll see it where these people complain because they haven't gotten the money back or they haven't done this, where in reality they had all the resources to make it work, or they could have booked all these calls with the coaching and they didn't ask the right questions, right? And it's all these different things. And I knew that when I was going into investing it, so I want to make sure when I invested, I asked them every question. That took advantage of everything that I was given because I want to get my money's worth. And because of that, what it gave me was clarity. And as you know from my relentless amount of content, that people will pay absurd amount of money for clarity, because it's sometimes an invaluable thing to offer because people want to understand. And when they don't understand, they feel this internal feeling of anxiousness and that I need to get by. So bottom line is, coaches and things like that a scam? No. You have to position it and use it to your best advantage. And the thing is to understand is that if you are a coach or whatever the case may be, is that not everybody's going to get results. It just happens, because I've seen it time and time again. It's very weird where, like, for example, Agency Ignition platform, you'll have some people come in and say, hey, I just can't get any results. And, I had a member who, for like first week after he joined, closed like a $5,000 deal. 1 week after he joined, right? On a new offer to a new industry just from watching my videos. Like, isn't that absurd? So what I'm trying to understand is, why are certain individuals who have access to the same group coaching calls, same resources, same tools, same scrapers, same meetings, just not as successful? And that just comes down to how you leverage it and use it. So again, this is completely a third perspective, focusing solely on the fact that I've purchased these ticket coaching programs for upwards to multiple 5 figures. To focus on the fact that you need to know who you're purchasing from to have and trust that they'll get the job done, and you'll know it. It's kind of like that gut feeling that'll tell you. And when you do it, make sure that you're leveraging everything to your potential, because unless it's just that bad you don't get one takeaway out of it, there always should be something super important that you learn and can take advantage of to help you make you more successful in that space or that issue that you're currently having. So I say no, you always can become the best student on any type of platform that you bring in, you just have to make sure that you're making the right educated decision. And what is that done through? Clarity. Because if you have full understanding and certain way to go ahead and think about that this person can help me solve this or provide me information for this, then you're golden. And no, the guys at Purchase Room didn't have guarantees. It was just that feeling of that it would work out, okay? When I say this, I say that it can be extremely invaluable because I know a lot of people aren't open to the ideas of, you know, paying someone 7 to 15 grand just to teach me all up in front, one payment, 15 grand. It's a car. I just paid a coaching program a car. But ultimately, the value and information they've given me is just so incredible that even, as I said, out of those one sections, I can make so much more money from one of those sections, and then now have this timeline of infinite support to be able to help me, guide me, and say that, hey, I've never ran ads before, but you're going to see the ads now popping up the page, and you know, there's all different portions of the pie that helps put it together. So I'm just using that as like a very basic example, but point being, they're not a scam. Some of them are, you gotta be careful, but what I'm trying to say is investing into yourself is like the same way as like going to college, right? You know, going to college, what if it's a scam? 90% of the time it is. So what I'm trying to say is that you want to invest in yourself, invest in your knowledge, and ultimately if you can pay someone to help you get an answer and solve to a problem ridiculously faster than it would be if you try to sit there and figure it out on your own, then 100% worth it.